By now, you are well aware of the issues Fanatics has had when it comes to producing the newest line of Major League Baseball jerseys, and we are all more than painfully aware of the struggles the company has had as a sports apparel manufacturer. There is a reason why so much of their stuff ends up being sold at Ross for a massive discount. What you may not realize is just how leveraged leagues, team owners, and really everyone connected to sports is into Fanatics. I am Cheyenne Hollis. This is the Touchback, and for those who thought see-through pants were bad, well, have I got a story for you. Tech Bro makes pie-in-the-sky pitch, and a bunch of marks invest entirely way too much money in a company that ultimately overpromises and under-delivers. WeWork, FTX, and the list goes on and on and on. Usually those investors will do whatever it takes to keep their investment afloat, even if that means harming themselves in the process. As for Fanatics, Major League Baseball, the National Hockey League, and the National Football League are just a few of those who have put money into Michael Rubin's sprawling apparel enterprise. It is estimated that sports leagues, player unions, and team owners hold roughly a 10% stake in Fanatics. Given the company's recent valuation at $31 billion, that 10% amounts for a heck of a lot of money, roughly $3.1 billion. Even though the company has received money from other sources, today I want to talk about baseball in particular. That's because MLB commissioner is seemingly doing whatever he can to make Fanatics a thing. So much so that he is selling out at any and every corner to make sure Fanatics doesn't flop. If you aren't familiar with the relationship between MLB and Fanatics, well, baseball has invested in 3 different rounds of funding for the company. In 2017, this was done as part of a $1 billion raise. In 2021, there was a smaller cash injection, with MLB being a part of that. And then we get to the 2022 Series E raise for Fanatics, which was again more than $1 billion. We may not know the specific amount MLB has pumped into Fanatics over the years, but suffice to say, it's certainly a lot of money. By the way, Michael Rubin, you want to complain about people picking on you and Fanatics over the poor quality of those MLB jerseys, but at the same time, you have asked folks for billions of dollars, and this is the best you can do? Michael Rubin, I have a piece of advice for you. Bring it in. Right there, guy. Come on, stop complaining. There are legitimately factories in Bangladesh that could put out better quality garments than Fanatic does, and at a fraction of the price, of the price you do. How about, instead of crying about people picking on you, you spend some of that money you raise on something other than elaborate unnecessary parties? Like, just absolutely ridiculous, dude. Back to Major League Baseball's relationship with Fanatics. Well, let's go ahead and start with this year's series opener in Seoul. A big event that was seemingly bungled by Manfred and company, who didn't realize that it was cold in Seoul in March. That overlooked detail has forced the game to be played indoors at Gyeochok Skydome, a venue with 16,000 and some change seats. South Korea does, of course, have much larger baseball venues that could be used at a different time of the year, or even if they waited by a week or two instead of having it to play it this early in March. But honestly, none of that matters. Major League Baseball isn't doing the Seoul series for any sort of tangible benefit in South Korea, at least from a baseball perspective. Nope, MLB is going to Seoul for one reason and one reason only. That, of course, being Fanatics. Yeah, it's Fanatics. If you've paid any attention to the build-up for the Seoul series, you will notice that Coupang has had its hands all over this event. You can only buy tickets through its Coupang Play app, which, by the way, only 10% of South Koreans use, which makes it just all the more ridiculous. Then the games themselves only going to be streaming via the Coupang Play app again. This, of course, is not a great way to build an audience or endear yourself to a country. Limited seats for limited games, and then restrictions on how you can buy. This is like a handbook on how not to do business when entering a new country. That, though, does not matter one bit for anyone involved. You see, Fanatics and Coupang have a shared investor in Japanese giant SoftBank. they told the two companies to work out a partnership. Of course, they use much more flowery language with words like collaboration between Coupang and Fanatics. But make no mistake, this was a SoftBank directive as its huge investment. It didn't want to see that get lost. Ultimately, at the behest of SoftBank, the two companies reached an agreement to sell US sportswear and merchandise to consumers in South Korea. In other words, Coupang sells Fanatics gear, and Major League Baseball needs Fanatics to be a success, so it granted Coupang pretty much all of the sponsorship rights and really any sort of opportunity there was with the Seoul series. On the surface, playing these games in Seoul may seem like an exercise in expanding the sport or building interest in a key market. But really, when you look at the bigger picture, when you take a step back and examine the landscape, this is all about selling more Fanatics gear and making sure MLB can keep that investment propped up. Back here stateside, another example of that can be found with Major League Baseball's takeover of the minor leagues. Often framed as a way to improve player condition among other lies, it is actually becoming another vehicle for Fanatics. Since 2020, one entity, has acquired 29 different minor league franchises, by far and away the most in America, that being Diamond Baseball Holdings. But who is Diamond Baseball Holdings owned by? Well, it's none other than private equity firm Silver Lake. Okay, so I'm not expecting you to know who either of these parties are, not Diamond Baseball Holdings or Silver Lake, but here's why it is important. Silver Lake just happens to be another huge investor into Fanatics. In fact, they have invested hundreds of millions of dollars into the company. Hey, what a coincidence, right? Yeah, no, it's not a coincidence at all. This is very much a premeditated, pre-planned thing. What the deal has essentially meant is that these minor league franchises are being forced to use whatever crap Fanatics has for them. Merchandise, ticket apps, all of that crap that's not very good that Fanatics is trying to develop and make into something have now been foisted on these minor league teams. More importantly, all of that was made possible by an MLB operational rule change that allowed a single ownership group to have multiple teams in the same leagues after decades of that not being permitted. All of this was done for one reason and one reason only, so Fanatics could get its hands on more potential business. Because these minor league teams that had independent owners, well, they weren't really interested in being part of the Fanatics family, as it's turned out to be kind of not a great proposition for them. But if one body owns a bunch of minor league teams and then can force it onto them and to keep up their investment, to keep up appearances for Fanatics, well, what the hell? And Major League Baseball not only allowed it to happen, but it was encouraging it as a fellow Fanatics investor. We can sit here and complain about how terrible those Fanatics produced MLB jerseys are, and make no mistake, they're a joke. It should never have gotten to this point. But if you look at the big picture here, this is only the tip of the iceberg. This is a small portion of just the terribleness that Fanatics is imposing on sports. Things are only going to get worse and worse as the company continues to make mistake after mistake with no repercussion for their actions. Too many people, too many organizations, too many folks in the sports world are leveraged in Fanatics and need it to be a successful, otherwise they face a huge loss on their investment. That means what we're seeing with Fanatics today, it's the future. Leagues, teams, and others are eschewing what's best for fans in order to support whatever stupid things Fanatics is backing. Whether it is merchandise, buying tickets, memorabilia, streaming games, whatever the case may be, fans are no longer getting what's best. They're no longer getting the technology that has moved to the top of the mountain because it's good. Nope, we don't even matter at all. These folks are just going to pawn off the most faulty technologies, expensive streaming, and poorly made apparel onto us because everyone wanted a bigger slice of the pie. It wasn't good enough having these contracts with different manufacturers or different services, whatever the case may be, because they weren't seeing any investment. They weren't seeing any return on that. But with an investment into Fanatics, well, it gives them a larger slice of the pie. Not that they need it to begin with, because we're talking about these billion-dollar industries making, what, a few extra $1 million on the side because of these investments? Make no mistake here, though. Fanatics is not in the position they are in because they've done something good, because they have managed to be a success. Far from it. Fanatics is in this very position because, well, Michael Rubin just happened to be a part owner in a sports team. So he had all of these connections. And then he sort of tech broed his way into getting those connections to give him money to develop Fanatics. But what Fanatics really has been is just a bunch of other companies he bought out. He literally has just gone on to buy any company connected to his that could potentially serve as a threat down the road because they actually know what they're doing, and his outfit, his organization, very much does not. Seriously though, look at some of these investments they've made, taking these great companies, these companies that were actually going to disrupt and develop things that could make sports fans better, that could improve our lives. All they've done is turn them into crap. All we have here is a reverse Rumpelstiltskin spinning gold into straw at the cost of your firstborn child. What a deal, folks. To Fanatics CEO Michael Rubin and the army of tech bros propping up his flailing empire of crap, I say this: you suck. You should be embarrassed by what you are doing. You claim to care about sports and care about fans, yet all you can manage to do is disenfranchise sports fans and make the sporting landscape worse, much worse. Instead of working hard and doing the right thing and building up your company the right way, the way that most Americans are expected to live their lives in order to save up enough money to buy the sports jersey of their very team, you simply talk a big game but fail to deliver. I suppose who needs hard work and honor when you can just blow through other people's money holding parties with celebrities and making yourself feel like a winner? Make no mistake though, Fanatics and Michael Rubin are losers, big time losers. And with these folks steering the ship, it is only a matter of time before Fanatics fails. That's because he and those he chooses to surround himself with are special types of individuals, ones capable of tanking a seemingly untankable monopoly. You have to be a special type of character to manage such just lunacy, such incompetence. But as we saw with WeWork, anything is possible if you don't know what the hell you're doing. Sinking ships can only be propped up for so long, no matter how many fans you happen to have in high places, and no matter how many fancy investors you have leveraged into your company. Eventually, they're going to get tired of the crap. When you see the latest story about a poorly made Fanatics jersey making around and how everyone's disappointed and how it just is a bad look for sports in general, I want you to remember one thing. This represents something far greater. This is a symbol of a bad company being propped up by desperate investors too scared to lose the money they have sank into what looks to be a losing proposition. What we have with Fanatics is a bunch of folks backing a guy who never knew what the hell he was doing in the first place. He just happened to be at the right place at the right time. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to know a little bit more about another one of sports great shakedowns at the moment streaming, we'll check out the video in the upper right hand corner of your screen. Until next time, I am Cheyenne Hollis. This is the Touchback. Let's hope Michael Rubin doesn't sue me. And as always, hashtag take it out to the 25.